Good evening, everybody. Um, my name's Steve. I run a little website, christiananarchist.com. It's just a blog. I've kind of neglected that for a little while. Um, but I will get back in the swing of things of writing stuff there. In the meantime, I started doing these live streams just because I thought it was fun. It gives me a time to vent and get my thoughts out there. And let me just do a quick check to make sure this is working. Yep. Okay, good deal. Sorry, one other thing. Turn that off. Sorry, one other thing. Oh, yeah. See, I don't even know what I'm doing. Oh, yeah. See, I don't even know what I'm doing. Oh, yes. See, all right, I apologize about that. Okay. There we go. Just had to make sure this is working. I am still trying to learn this stuff. I'm using OBS, just like a free streaming software, and it's pretty easy to use. I just have multiple screens here to make sure everything's working. Anyways, so if you saw the thumbnail, it was talking about a Satan worshiper, I guess, a Satanist. He led a church of Satan who came to know Christ. He got saved. And I just saw this yesterday and saw this on TikTok, believe it or not. And it looked like this happened back in July, or at least that was when he posted a video, which I'm going to go through that. And it's a little bit on the long side, and it's fairly serious topic and whatnot. But before we dive into that, I do like to kind of cover a few things I find funny or that kind of got people talking throughout the week. And no, I'm not talking about the Queen dying or Martha's Vineyard immigration situation. I'm not getting into any of that. But you may have seen a lot of people are going crazy over the Little Mermaid cast, I suppose, because there's not a great resemblance between these two characters. I don't really care so much about it. I don't even think I've seen the initial Little Mermaid. Maybe I did when I was a kid. I have no idea. Couldn't tell you much about it. But I saw this video and it was pretty funny. So, just this little girl watching this for the first time. I guess this is the trailer, which I didn't even watch that. She's so adorable.
Was it just me, or was that with Whitney Houston?
She said, is it just me, or was that Whitney Houston? Not what I expected her to say. That is pretty funny. I'm like, how do you know who Whitney Houston is? I showed this clip to my 16-year-old son, and he goes, "Who's Whitney Houston?" So even he doesn't know. And then I was like, "Hey, she's the one that sings, I think, the I Will Always Love You song." And he goes, "Oh, okay, I think I've heard that." Anyways, I thought that was funny. What else do we got here? Oh, no. See, I don't even know how to go to this next. I'm just doing this on PowerPoint because I don't know what I'm doing. Oh, dang it. Yeah, so I forgot I put this in here. This is from the Babylon Bee. But yeah, people would be pretty pissed off if the Daily Wire put out a what do you call it? A revised or a updated Black Panther. This made me laugh. Thought it was funny. Obviously, it's a joke. Anyways, what was the next story I got? Oh, dude, yeah. So shifting gears, this apparently was a real commercial that was out. I saw this on Twitter. Watch this ad, and it's just watch this.
I've been into fashion since I can remember. But one day I had a stomach ache so bad I didn't want to do anything. The team at New York Presbyterian said it was actually my heart. It was severely swollen. Something called myocarditis. But doctors gave me medicines and used machines to control my heartbeat. They saved me. So now I can become the next great fashion designer.
What? This was a actual commercial apparently for New York Presbyterian normalizing or coming to the realization that it's going to be normal is children having myocarditis. I mean, this is not normal. This is not normal, or it shouldn't be normal. And then you see
I've been into fashion since I can remember.
why does it do that? And then you see ads or articles like this. And this was from yesterday. Teenagers at risk of heart problems due to pollution. Study shows. Is that what's causing it? Pollution? Okay. The effect of the particles in the heart was already seen within 1 to 2 hours in the teenagers in the study. Okay. I mean, I don't know. I don't know why that would be all of a sudden happening. When we have a whole EPA who's designed to regulate pollution, at least in theory. I don't know if they're talking about, when I think pollution, I think of airborne pollution, and the cities in America don't seem so bad. I mean, I guess there could be water pollution. Maybe something crazy's going on there. I don't know if this is just directed at a city or whatnot, but I've showed this in a prior video, but there's a lot of these articles showing, climate change is causing heart problems or lack of sleep or, what? Okay. Listen, I think people are starting to realize what's actually going on here. And it's really sad that kids are having heart problems. Could there be anything more serious than your heart? Anyways, I find that incredibly depressing. All right, another video that was flying around on Twitter quite a while. This thing had like 1.4 million views or so. I downloaded this yesterday or this morning. But watch this video. And this is just a female cop, I don't know, posting on TikTok, it looks like, or something. Maybe it's Instagram, I don't know. Watch this.
PSA to everyone out there. I'm speaking for myself, but I'm probably speaking for a large majority of other officers out there. If we're driving on the freeway in our police car, get the out of the way. Get the out of the way. If you merge and we follow behind you and we merge too, you're probably in trouble. Best way to find that out is get the out of the way. I can go 90 miles an hour. You can't. You can't do that. So get the out of the way. If us officers stay behind you long enough, we can find a reason to pull you over. So you might as well get the out of the way. Super simple. That's all. You're welcome.
Is that not the craziest thing you've heard? When they're saying the quiet part out loud? I mean, yeah, obviously, most people would get out of the way of a cop. I don't know who would want to intentionally stay in front of a police car. But the line that she said is most often, what did she exactly say?
We can find a reason to pull you over.
Yeah, if they follow you long enough, they can find a reason to pull you over, which tells you exactly the problem with cops, and a lot of them. And she said, I speak for myself, but I can probably speak for a large percentage of cops. And she's probably right. If cops want to pull you over, they will pull you over. They'll find some reason. They can just do it on suspicion. Or going 1 mile over the speed limit, which everyone does. Or not coming to a complete stop and waiting for 2 seconds and looking around. Not everyone does that. Most people don't. So, and yeah, I guess you could say technically you're breaking the law. Okay. But I'm sure, anyways, thankfully she was getting a lot of pushback on this. I don't know if she's commented or anything since then, or if anything's happened. Probably not. I mean, come on. But this goes to the problem with policing in America, which is kind of a whole nother topic, but that was being discussed quite a bit this week, and I found that interesting that she would actually put this on her own social media. Pretty wild. All right, so this is the main thing I wanted to talk about tonight. What the thumbnail is about, and there's this dude, and his name was, oh, I should have wrote it down. I'll put that in the notes on the video. This was a video that was put out like 2 years ago, and it was just like an interview with him when he was, I guess, part of the Church of Satan.
As a child, I was scared of Satanists. I remember...
Oh, here it is. Rian Swagalar. And this, I believe, is the South African Satanic Church. So that's what this accent is.
A 2-month period after reading a book, you know, this typical satanic panic type of book that was in the library. I slept on the floor of my parents' bedroom because I was scared of Satanists and that they're going to come and kidnap me.
The Satanic Bible came to my attention, and I was like, this is interesting, but I'm really scared to read it.
He's a founder. Wow, February of 2020. Huh.
From the age I can remember, I've always felt like an outsider. I've always felt like the person who would question, you know, any type of tyranny, any type of oppression, and I would be asking about why, you know, like, why would these people go to hell? That's what we were taught, certain people. And I'm like, why? They're good people, like, but why? I wasn't abused as a child by my parents. I got 2 hidings my whole life, and I deserved it. Absolutely.
Hidings. 2 hidings.
I went along with going to Sunday school every Sunday. I've never missed a Sunday. I've got the certificates today to prove it. I didn't feel so much forced. I just knew that I don't believe, a lot of these stories don't make sense to me.
So I grew up in Somerset West. I didn't really fit in there. I mean, I wanted to dress up in costumes and have Halloween. I like dressing up and playing different, you know, like kids do. And I was shunned for that a lot, in the sense of like, it's the devil's holiday, you can't do Halloween. I was like, I'm just dressing up and I want sweets. I've been on a spiritual journey for 5, 6, 7 years already. And I've always been interested in anything metaphysical in that sense. And so I was following the path, and I'm also a psychic medium. So I was following the path of that spiritual growing and growing as a person and self-development. And as I progressed, the Satanic Bible came to my attention. All of that sort of freaked me out a little bit. It took me a while, but then I got to the point where I was like, you know what, it's just a book, let's read it. And I started to read it, and it was the most profound experience to read a book that explained to me all my morals and ethics I've lived my whole life with.
With my family, and my parents specifically, they didn't receive it very well. I wouldn't say wrote me off, but they certainly expressed their discontent with it, and that they do not agree with it, and etc. And I'm sure in their way, they're obviously praying for me.
I mean, it's almost similar to coming out gay.
Yes, and I did that as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so... So that I did 10 years ago. So
yeah,
it was like, I mean, I can just imagine what I've put them through, you know, their lives. I can only imagine the contracts that we'll have on a soul level.
So yeah, you get the point. So this story is specifically about this guy, and the girl was, part of this video that they did just to talk about it. But so yeah, that gives you a sense of what he was into. It's funny, the Satanic Church, when I first learned that it even existed, it was a while ago. I thought it was a joke, and maybe it was, but I thought its intended purpose was just to piss off Christians. Like, what? We have freedom of religion, and they do and should in America and everywhere. But I remember him being in stories like, if there was a Christian flag or the Ten Commandments or something in a courtroom or some government building, they would go try to plant their, I guess, satanic flag or something and raise a stink and say, what, since there's a Christian flag, we should be able to have this satanic flag. And I thought it was all that kind of stuff, like political, just kind of again, I thought it was just to kind of piss off Christians. I always kind of viewed them as very hateful people, but again, I don't really know. I've never met one, to be honest with you, that I know of. I always view this as a very small subset of people who say they're religious. And what I learned was they actually do rituals and this kind of thing. And she actually said in this video she was previously I think she said a psychic of some sort. And I know that stuff exists, but I don't know if that necessarily makes you satanic per se. I don't know much about that either. I've never been to one, or I don't know what that's all about. But I think he talks about this in his interview a little bit of I guess some of the rituals they do. He didn't go into a whole lot of detail on it. But
As a child, I was...
Did I post the video? Oh, I forgot to put it in. But the video I saw on TikTok was actually an interview where he was discussing this change of heart he's had. And it was kind of fascinating. It was only a quick, 2 to 3 minute clip or whatever. But this video, when I did a quick search last night, I found it on a different YouTube channel. It didn't look like it was his either. But it was a good 45-minute just him talking to the camera video. And I wanted to play it and kind of go through it and discuss it. And in the very beginning, he kind of talks about why he's doing this video and whatnot. So I'm going to skip ahead to I think it was probably somewhere around here. I should have started it there. Yeah, let's see.
Hopefully. So I got involved with
All right. Yep.
Satanism because at the time it resonated with me, being very broken and being very sad without realizing it. And I think the reason why a lot of people resonate with Satanism is they come from a very broken place. And
so already, and he may be right. He probably is right. There's a lot of broken people out there. A lot of broken people. And that's kind of unnerving. But we already know that as Christians. We know there's a lot of broken people out there. And we think we have the answers. Anyways, let me continue. I'll try not to interrupt this so much, but
I have met thousands of Satanists over the last 3 years.
thousands.
And I'm not saying that their intentions are bad or whatever, but they are extremely broken and extremely hurt. And that's the one thing they all have in common. And that's the thing that coming from a place of hurt and being broken, that's why I resonated with the philosophy, because the way certain things are written, it's written from a place of anger, and people read it and they would resonate with it, and they would say, but this is what I've been feeling. And if you are broken, you will certainly resonate with the philosophy. So that is how I got it.
First off, I should have mentioned this is on the TikTok video. Some of the people were saying, "Oh, this is fake or it's not real." But in that video and in this video, he kind of breaks down and gets emotional, which is kind of a clue that he's telling the truth anyways. But if it's not obvious, he has these tattoos, and he has one on his hand, and you saw it in the previous video. I mean, this guy's like he was really involved in this church, and he was definitely a Satanist. Like I said, I found that video that was posted 2 years ago. By the way, he has this poster behind him. It says, "The Holy Spirit, expect miracles." It's kind of strange to me. I don't know if I've ever seen like a depiction of the Holy Spirit. Kind of interesting. He does kind of, and later on in this interview, he kind of does say some wacky stuff as it relates to animals. But anyways, let me continue. So, yeah.
Involved in it, and that was more than 4 years ago, and things progressed from there. And as most people know, we took the church, the Satanic Church, very publicly at the time, because we felt it's it's needed to stand up against certain things and represent Satanism. So at that time, I did believe that is what is my truth and what was real to me, not realizing how broken I was. So I'm also not here today to say that I'm a victim, because I've certainly never been a victim. I've never claimed victimhood or any of that. So just about the background, but my experience of what I've had in the last month plus is what I want to share today, and that is the topic of the video. To get back to the topic at hand is why did I leave, and why did I resign from the South African Satanic Church, as well as why did I turn my back on Satanism. So let's start by saying that I've never known unconditional love in my whole life. And up to today, there's only four Christians. There's definitely more than four people, but there's been 4 Christians in my whole life that have shown me what unconditional love is. I thought I'm not gonna get emotional, but it is what it is. So, and I want to thank those 4 people today, and it adds to this story. So, Donnie and Adele Frey, I don't know, words cannot express what you have done for me. Adele sent me a message over this weekend, and she said, but I've done such a simple thing. I've just showed you love. People means to show someone love is everything.
Oh, man. So, if it's true that there's thousands of, and this is just in South Africa, I don't know what it's like in America, but of Satan worshiping folks, and they're all extremely broken, that is what they need, is to be shown love. They don't need to be met by a bunch of Christians outside of their church picketing and protesting because they don't like this or that. They need to be shown love. And I'll talk about this more, but it ain't easy. It is not easy. But let me continue with what he's saying.
It's not a simple thing. You have showed me everything. You've showed me the love of Christ. I've seen it in you. So, Donnie and Adele, thank you so much for that. And you've showed me unconditional love in a time where I was a monster, an ugly person, where I took people like you on. You showed me unconditional love. So thank you for that. So the important part of my experience is that in the middle of May it's about 2 months ago, I did my last interview for the South African Satanic Church, not knowing that would be my last radio interview that I'm doing. And most people know about the interview. It was a Cape Talk. And there's a woman who works there. It doesn't matter. I didn't speak to her before this video, so I'm not sure if I can mention her name. I'm just going to call her Amy. So Amy has been communicating with me about media stuff, about the South African Satanic Church over such a long period of time. And
this part of the story is pretty wild, and he mentions it later, and it seems like such a simple thing she did, but this is pretty wild.
And we never met in person because of COVID, and all the interviews was online, etc. So I did this interview, and after the interview, this lady came to me. And in this interview, I said, I don't believe in Jesus. And I don't believe that Jesus Christ exists, because I didn't. And she came to me after the interview, after I said that. And she hugged me, and she held me in a way that I've never been loved. That's all she did. She didn't say anything. She just said, it's nice to finally meet you in person. And she just hugged me, and she held me. And a week later...
Isn't that wild? The way he's recounting this story. They had communications for months or whatever leading up to this interview, and they had to interview, and she saw him in the hall or wherever, said, hey, it's nice to finally, see you, and gave him a hug. It might seem like a little thing, but this hug changed this guy's life, and you'll see why in a minute. It's phenomenal. It's crazy. I'm kind of a hugger myself. Like, I don't mind hugging people. I have no problem with that. No, it's just kind of now in this day and age, you're like, I don't know, should I hug this person? Sometimes I just do it, and more times than not, they're receptive to a hug. This is kind of how I am. So it's just kind of wild that, and I wouldn't think much of it beyond maybe the social awkwardness of it, if there is at all, or the appropriateness of it. But this hug changed this guy's life.
Through WhatsApp, through a status, I saw this woman is a Christian. I couldn't believe it, because I've never had a Christian do that. I've never experienced a Christian showing that much love and acceptance unconditionally.
Yeah. So it wasn't just a hug, I guess, right? She hugged a Satanist, which, you know, on paper, again, I don't know much about Satanists. I don't know much about the Bible that lady was referencing earlier, about what it says, what it believes, but I assume that they worship Satan, which is the exact opposite of what a Christian would believe. And yet, she gave this guy a hug. I mean, on paper, you know, Satanists would be our enemies, right? And she showed him love. And it wasn't even, it seems like an easy thing, but I can understand where a large percentage of Christians would want nothing to do with a Satanist or someone that claims that they worship Satan. And I would probably fall into that category, you know? Would I hug a Satanist if I just saw him down the hall? Kind of wild. And that's what makes, on this little flag behind me, the very top line there. Love your enemies. Ooh. Do I have to? That is not easy, okay? She showed this guy love, gave him a hug. Let's continue.
After I've said the things I've said, she did that. And it stayed with me. I said, oh, okay, cool, she's a Christian, whatever. And then a week later, and I don't wanna talk about Satanism. I don't wanna talk about the details of it, but in the occult there is certain rituals that you do to ascend to the top of a pyramid, and you can only do a certain amount at a time. And after that interview, I had a meeting with council members at the...
By the way, doesn't that sound like Scientology? Isn't that kind of what Scientologists do? You have to do certain things for over a certain number of months, years, etc., to ascend the pyramid, or I forget what Scientologists call it, but kind of like grades, or I forget exactly what they refer to them as, but it sounds like Church of Satan has the same thing. You have to do so many rituals or certain rituals or whatever, and you can't do them until you've reached a certain status. It's very, it's pretty wild. Thank God there's nothing like that in the Christian church, as far as I know. Anyways.
At the church, and they said, okay, great, now we've done all these interviews and people know, and it's growing, Satanism is growing, and believe me people, it's growing.
Yikes.
And I had to do a ritual by myself to see what is the next step. What is the next thing? How do I get more power, more influence? And I did this ritual, and I opened myself up. And Jesus appeared. And
he doesn't elaborate on what that means. Jesus appeared. But it sounds like Jesus appeared. I don't know if he, thinks he visually saw him, or something, but listen to this next part.
I was extremely cocky. And I said, whatever. If you are Jesus, you need to prove it. And he flooded me with the most beautiful love and energy. And I recognized it immediately because that woman at the radio station showed it to me.
What? Is that not the most crazy thing you've ever heard? He wanted proof that God exists. Is kind of how his. Of course, he's saying he saw Jesus and asked them to prove that it was him, and had something wash over him inside of his mind, heart, and soul. And he knew what that feeling was because a week prior, a Christian lady hugged him. My mind was blown when I was like listening to this last night. Is that not the craziest thing you've ever heard? It's crazy. It's awesome. But it's pretty crazy.
That's how I recognized the love of Christ. Because 4 people, 4 Christians, showed it, not the others. So I recognized it. I'm gonna change specs, sorry.
Specs.
Because transition is not transition apparently anymore. Excuse me. There we go. I recognized it immediately because 4 people showed it to me and I didn't understand it at the time. I couldn't understand it because, like I said, I didn't believe. Even when I was in Christian ministry almost 20 years ago, apologies. You think you believe things and you're like, okay, so there's a book that tells you certain things and therefore it's that. I never knew it until a month or 2 ago. And I could recognize it because there's 4 people who showed it to me. And it's not the people who fight you and they declare spiritual warfare and they do things, and that's not the love of Christ. The love of Christ is unconditional. And for the last month, I've been having conversations, real conversations with God. And there's things that we will never understand with our cognitive minds. We will never understand it. And I've had people, obviously, in the last few weeks say, you know what, it's cognitive dissonance and whatever, like intellectual things, and I've studied this and that. So have I. I've been an atheist for most of my life. I've been a Satanist for 5 years. So I understand where a lot of those people come from. But when you experience it, it is something different.
Bingo. That is exactly true for everyone. You know, it's something you have to experience. Now, I don't know if everyone's gonna experience it the way he experienced this. You know, I heard a story by, this is kind of going off on a little tangent, but Bob Murphy, one of my favorite podcasters, and he's an economist and also a Christian. He told a story, and again, there was other things that happened, but there was one moment in particular, because he said he was an atheist, and he was just, he was on the verge of believing in a God, or in God. And I hope I'm remembering this story correctly, but I believe it was something like this. And he just said, "Hey, I just need one more sign." And he reached into his pocket and pulled out some money, some cash. And that he didn't think he had there. And he was not the kind of person to just leave cash in his pockets, apparently. And I think that was like the final straw for him to be like, "All right, you got me." It's kind of a funny story. Maybe, it's completely different from this guy's story. And again, there was more happening there than just that. But no, his general point is true. It's like, he was in Sunday school as a child, growing up in church, for a good chunk of his life, it sounded like, at least 10 years or whatever. And, probably knew a couple Bible verses, and, he kind of knew what people believed, but did not know the love of God, the love of Christ. Did not experience it. It wasn't personal. Let's continue.
And again, I'm not here to attack people, but I want to get a few things off my chest. I have for a long time believed that I am not worthy of God's grace because I'm gay and because I have certain abilities. So people made me believe for a very long time I'm not worthy of that. Let me tell you something today. The kingdom of God is not a gated community. The kingdom of God is open to everybody. It's called grace. It's called grace, people. And somebody forwarded me, I want to talk about this stuff.
He's
Somebody
right.
forwarded me a video over the weekend
He's right.
of a Christian taking on a Satanist, talking about his piercings and his long hair and he's going to hell and all of that stuff. And he also said, he used an example saying that your God doesn't come to you, you have to go to God, like going to a barbershop or whatever. Listen, sweetie, listen, love. God is everywhere. God is omnipresent. In Afrikaans sê ons alomteenwoordig. That means everywhere. That means at every satanic ritual, at every interaction with another human being, everywhere. And God can reveal himself to anybody at any time, anywhere. But when you tell people they're going to hell, when you tell people, when you call out their sins, when you tell people things like God will judge you, etc., you do not know grace. No one is worthy of grace more than the next person. Grace is for everybody. Grace is for, doesn't matter what color skin you have, it doesn't matter which religion. Grace, God's grace is available to everybody. But it is our choice whether to accept that or not. And we constantly get opportunities for that. And this was my opportunity, and I took it. I made the choice. I chose light. I am living for light. And it's because of that grace that I can do that. And I pray, I really pray. My prayer is for everyone to ask, if you are a believer, ask God to show you that grace. Ask that grace will be revealed to other people. Because it's not in religion. It's not. Religion has hurt a lot of people, including me. This is how I got here. This is how I got here, is religion. People would say, but the Bible says this, and and you're not worthy, etc. It's for everyone. It's open to anybody.
Yeah, so he was watching a video clip of a Christian, probably, arguing or yelling at someone in the street or wherever, and saying all these things. Look at your tattoos. Look at, you're going to hell, and da da da. Is that the right approach? Who are you convincing? Just think of it in terms of just even politics, not even like a spiritual debate. Is anything solved when a Democrat and a Republican are yelling at each other at a Trump rally or a Biden rally or whatever? Is anyone's mind going to get changed there? Like, you know what? You're right. I am a libtard. I am a MAGA insurrectionist. Right? No, it's so stupid. Just calling each other names and you're an idiot, and nothing's going to get accomplished by doing that. No. We need to show people love. It's not easy. I mean, doing that, yelling at people and stuff, that's probably that's what comes natural. Maybe that's the easy thing to do. Again, up here, love your enemies. Loving your enemies, that's the hard part. It's a conscious decision you have to make to do that. It does not come naturally. That does not come naturally. I was thinking about this morning, and at church this morning, and in fact, that's what I was doing on my phone. Once I pull up the live stream to just remember the lyrics again, we sang this song, and I'm going to be honest with you, I don't even know the name of the song. But the lyrics were perfect for what I was thinking about and thinking about this video and this man's life. But it goes, Jesus, Jesus, you make the darkness tremble. And when he said that, God is everywhere, and God is even in a satanic ritual while that's going on, I guess, God is there, right? Kind of crazy to think about. But it says, you make the darkness tremble, and you silence fear. Kind of part of the lyrics of this song. And it was a great worship this morning. I probably should have pulled up a clip of that. I love the church I go to. But they tremble at his name, and there's Bible verses. I should have pulled that up too. I need to stop putting these together at the last minute. But they'll tremble at the name of Jesus. They do. And I've never had encounters like this with, demonic forces, or I've never played with the Ouija board and all this kind of stuff. I have no desire to do that whatsoever. Never did, never will. I'm not playing around with that. I believe that that's real. Certainly wouldn't be inviting them in. Oh, it's terrifying to think about. But, yeah, no. they'll tremble at the name of Jesus, you know. This guy does go on, and maybe I'll just end it here because he does kind of basically he discusses that there was 4 people in his life that showed him love and that helped change his life. But to me, from his story in particular, there was one lady who changed his life by giving him a hug. I didn't even really say much to him, just kind of gave him a hug. She was a Christian lady, knowing he was a Satanist, knowing he said he wants nothing to do with Jesus Christ. Gave him a hug. And that's bothered him to look up this lady and was like, hey, let me look this lady up. Found out she was a Christian, and he's like, wait, why would a Christian give me a hug? That's weird. And a week later, he had this experience, and when he was kind of washed over with emotion, he said he knew what that feeling was because this lady had given him a hug a week prior, and it felt the same. Anyways, I think I'm not gonna play much more of this video. He does go on for a little while, and this was actually part 1. I didn't even look at part 2 or 3. I don't know if he has more, but presumably he does, where he goes on and, you know, and I wasn't able to find that full interview for the clip I found yesterday. But pretty fascinating story. It tells you that God's grace is sufficient for everyone, including those who worship Satan. You know? But it also is a reminder for Christians to love your neighbor and love your enemies. And what else? What else does it say up here? Do not repay evil for evil. Look, that's the top 2 things on this flag. I know it's just a flag, but there's a reason I have it on the wall. I really like it. Do not repay evil for evil. So even if someone's doing you wrong, you have to make a conscious decision to not do what comes naturally and repay evil for evil. Give them a hug. Give someone a hug. Anyways, if you made it this far, I appreciate it. I'm, like I said, I need to put more time and effort into preparing for these. But hope you enjoyed that. This is a pretty wild story. Again, this guy's name, let me go back to, this guy's name was Rian Swegalar. I don't know how you say it. From South Africa Satanic Church. Of course, this video was 2 years ago when he was part of the church. But Google this name and you'll find other videos, and you'll find the video. I just went through and hear and read more about his story. It's pretty remarkable, and man, look at all this crazy stuff behind him. You know, it's like not even like I'm a Christian, obviously, and I don't have like paraphernalia. I don't have like crosses and posters and this. You don't even know what stuff. I don't even have this stuff laying around my house. I mean, you know, I might have 1 or 2 things that, you know, if someone were walking around my house, would they know I'm a Christian? I don't know. Just by, you know, looking at pictures and stuff. Just have pictures of family and stuff. It's just like these. It's kind of crazy. Look at all this. Anyways, let me end the video there. I'm getting tired. Again, if you made it this far, thanks for watching. I don't know what I'm going to talk about next week. I do want to talk about Dave Smith and Hotep Jesus talking about God and religion, so I might do that. It was a fascinating discussion, and it was way earlier this year, I believe. But as you know, Dave Smith's one of my favorite libertarians out there, and I think he's a very good communicator. And when he talked about God and religion, it was a fascinating discussion that he had. I might go through that. I'll be better prepared for that. Anyways, thanks for watching. Hope you have a good night. Take care.